Hi, everybody. Radical Gardener. Anyway, I want to read out of this amazing book called The Mysticism of Sound and Music. It was written like back in, I think, 1920, around that time. Fantastic book. So it's about a lot of things, color, frequency. What was really interesting is that when it was written and how current it is. We've just had this information for so long. It's kind of sad, got ignored. But anyways, so I'm at chapter 8, and it's the ancient music. So let me just read a little bit of this to you. When one looks at this subject from the Eastern point of view, one finds that the Eastern idea of music originated from intuition. But the tradition of any art or even of science will tell the same thing. It is only later on that man begins to believe in the outer things and forgets the origin, which is intuition. Music, according to the ancient people, was not a mechanical science or art. Music was the first language. The proof of this can be found even now in the language of the animals and birds who express their emotions and passions to one another without words, only in sound. I remember in a Steiner book that I read, he said that the reason animals don't speak is because they don't have ego, so they don't need to. Don't you love that? Okay. It is the combination of the different sounds of animals and birds that also has an effect upon the numberless multitudes of the lower creation. If music was the first expressive thing in the lower creation, so it was also in the humankind. And since it was the first expression of the emotions and passions of the heart, it is also the last expression of the emotions and passions. For what art cannot express, poetry explains, and what poetry cannot express is expressed by music. I mean, music is the ultimate art form. To a thinker, therefore, music in all ages will stand on the highest pedestal for the expression of what is deepest in oneself. When the ancient music is compared with the modern, one will no doubt find that there is too vast a gulf between them. If there is anything that gives one some little idea of the music of the human race, it is Eastern music, which still has traces of ancient music in it. Had it been preserved in the East only as music, it would perhaps not have been kept intact as it has been. But it was kept as part of the religion, and that is the reason why it has been continued through the tradition for thousands of years. So what he explains in this book is that music is religion, right? One might ask, how can the music of ancient times be kept pure, as there is always a tendency in human nature to alter things? It was always difficult for the human race to change religion. Anything else might be changed, but there was one thing that was always kept, and that was religion. In the religion of the Hindus, one aspect was music. It was called Samaveda. In the Western world, there came a time when translations were made of the Vedas, but there is a part of them of which the translation is not to be found. It is of that Veda. The reason is that, being musical, this Samaveda could not well be regarded as being language. So it was just music. From a study of the music of the Hindus, one can trace back in the traditions that thousands of years ago, there was a time when musicians knew as fine a distance between tones as quarter tones. It was not only the degree of the sound that was considered in that way, but also the nature and character of the sound was analyzed just as in chemistry. We can find today in ancient traditions the different effects attached to the different notes, whether dryness or liquidity, whether cold or heat. No doubt it is difficult today to distinguish the sounds that express these different effects because the distinguishing is now done from the instrument, and in those times it was done only from nature. Yet it is most interesting to know that we find today in Sanskrit scriptures the different pitch of sound distinguished in ancient times. In the absence of a piano or of a tuning fork, the musicians had to determine the pitch by the sound of different animals and birds. And our music, the music we studied, Dr. Snell and myself, it's all based on the frequencies of nature. It's why it's so powerful and why it sounds so different. So I was on the right track. One might ask in what way the art developed among the ancient people, reference to which is to be found even now in the East. The idea was that they attached different themes of music to different seasons and different strains of music to different times of the day and night. And as there is nothing in the world that is without reason, that also was not only an imagination or a fancy, there was a reason behind it, a logical reason for attributing certain melodies to certain times. Had it been a poetic fancy, it would have lasted for a short time and would have influenced a little circle only. But it has lasted for ages until now and has influenced the whole country of India. It is a usage that was carried on for thousands of years, and today one finds in the East or the West, the North or the South, that the same raga, which is an Indian scale, is sung in the same times. When sung out of these times, then it is not appealing. I love East Indian music too. My girlfriend says it drives her nuts, but I love it. Okay. When we look at it from the metaphysical point of view, we shall find that the realization and knowledge that science has today and will ever have, that vibration is at the root of the whole creation. Harmonics was a certainty to the ancient people. It was the basis of their whole science. They knew that that which has created and which is holding and in which is held the whole manifestation and the whole cosmos is one power, and that is vibration. It is because of this that astrological science, which had much to do with the way human beings in different countries were influenced, also arose out of that science of vibration. Thus, music as a science was known by them to have a great deal to do with the influence of the planets, and the continual moving and working of the planets and their action upon the earth were the basis of the ragas, the scales, on which their music was founded. In the Sanskrit tradition of ancient times, there were verses to be found having relation to certain planets. The musicians therefore made their program according to the influence of the planets of the cosmos, and that program was carried out throughout the whole year. One might think that the influence of the planets is too vague to perceive, and that one could not make a program upon it, but in all periods of the whole of humanity has arranged its life according to the planetary influences just the same. In order to keep their music akin to nature, it was necessary to give liberty to the singer and player to sing and play as he wished. Naturally, uniformity was lacking, and a standardized system could not be made. That is why this music always remained an individualistic art only, not an education. For this reason, the music of the ancient people had its advantages and a great many disadvantages. The advantages were this: a musician, a singer, or player was never bound to sing in a particular way in order to execute properly the music he wanted to play before the public, but was always free to give the music according to his inspiration at the time. It gave him full liberty to express his emotions, his passions, without any outward restrictions that he should obey. When there were a number of singers or players, no doubt it was then necessary to set a certain standard, yet that standard did not restrict them very much. It is this order that was called music. The word music, or Sangita in Sanskrit, has three aspects. One aspect is language, the other aspect is playing, and the third aspect is movement. Hindus have never separated the science of movement or dance from music. They have always combined the three aspects of what they called music. As the music of the Eastern people developed, each of these three aspects developed also. For instance, the way of singing of the more refined people was quite different from the way the peasants sang. The song of the temple was altogether different from the song of the stage. These differences were great. Not only were there particular rules and regulations to be followed or more mechanical differences, but there was a natural difference. I'm going to stop there and talk about a little bit what I've read. So this is, we're back to our disconnect from nature, and nature is where all the answers are. Remember I was reading the the John Lash book, Not in His Image. And that's what he kept talking about, is what these religions would come in, and it would be, Judaism, Catholicism, it didn't matter. The first thing the religions, every one of those religions did, is that they would separate the people from nature, because nature is where all the answers were. Nature is where your intuition lives. And if you live in your intuition, you are sovereign. You cannot be controlled. Your intuition is, and when I'm talking about intuition, I'm talking about minus fear, minus doubt. Intuition is a true voice that comes through, and it's really, our lives, I believe, are about developing it. And how do you develop? Well, you develop intuition, first of all, removing fear. But you get rid of, the way you develop it is that you just begin to trust what you hear, right? And that means that you turn off all your electronics and all this input that you have. And believe me, I spend my time on them. Believe me, I spend my time on this stuff. But I also have never been very affected by it. I always felt like I was just kind of like, oh God, I hate when I say like, I'm just gathering information. I like to gather information, though I know most of it really isn't applicable to me. But getting back to intuition, I just know from the last 3 years acting on intuition, and that means I didn't base anything on money. I didn't base anything on a man-made construct. It was just what was in my gut, and I acted on it. And so I did things because they felt, and I understood in my soul that it was the right thing to do, right? So, people, God, you moved like 4 times in 3 years, but I was compelled to do it, and each time I did it, it was the right move to make. So, and that goes on with choices I make, what I want to do with my life. Now that I'm back in Michigan, I'm very clear that my mission is to teach, and that's what I want to do for the rest of my life, and really embrace that. And so, I heard that, and I'm acting upon it. And when I told you in the video where I was talking about what was going on at the the site, the RV site I was living at. And when I first heard, and it was like 4.5 months ago, maybe 5 months ago, and when I first heard what was going on as far as the people having the additions, and that we weren't allowed to have them, and that we were going to have to remove them, and that, and then eventually it was I couldn't sell my place. But when I first heard it, this voice said, get out. And that's the voice I acted on. I didn't go, well, I should just stick it out and see what happens, or, oh boy, I've moved down here and really I should just stay here, and at least I'm familiar with it and I know it, and I do have a couple of really good friends down here, and, I can make do with this. And no, I just heard get out, and it was, again, the right thing to do. So, intuition is your music. It is your song. It's your personal song. And everybody has a song. Everybody has a color. And your colors may change and your songs may change. But it's always available if you just, get quiet, cut out all of the periphery crap, and trust what comes in first. Don't second guess it. It's the only way. It's the only way. And you become sovereign. No one can control you, because you're going to do what you believe is right at the time. And so, and that's very simple. And I think I've talked about this already, but it's, it's my what's the word for it? It is my mantra now, to where I really understand that there's a holographic world, a matrix, and that world has nothing to do with me. And let me clarify that. I'm not saying that, oh, I just have nothing to do with all that craziness over there. What I'm saying is that it doesn't control me. I don't allow it to take up space in my head. I don't become fearful because of what I read. I don't act upon what I'm hearing in that crazy world. It's like false religion. It's false, everything's fake in the matrix. But once you're sovereign and you are dialoguing with yourself, you're on one end of the string, and the string is connected to the creator. So, and that string is the string of intuition and the string of your own personal sound and color. And it's connected to something very divine. And that is the world that I live in. That's the world that's meaningful, and that's the world that actually provides what it is that I'm manifesting. So right now I'm saying, I'm looking for teaching opportunities. I'm willing to work really, really hard. And listen, God, on the other end of my string, or listen, Creator, I trust you, and I believe that you have my back, and you're going to work for me, but I'll work hard, right? So it's been a beautiful way to operate in the last few months. And I held on to it really tight, because when I started to have those crazy panic attacks, because things kept changing every day, I mean, it was brutal. No, you're going to sell the place. No, you're not going to sell the place because they have this rule and they have that rule. Anyways, it's behind me now. But, that's what I kept hanging on to, was that relationship that was where I was connected on the end of a string, So, I just wanted to share that with you. Moving on, getting really excited. I'm going to start painting my place Monday. And then I'm going to pull up the carpet. There's wood floors under the carpet. Yes. And the landlord is so freaking cool. She is so cool. I can paint it whatever color I want, and it's pet friendly. And I can do whatever I want to the garden, and the garden needs work. But I've already located all kinds of places to get free plants and what have you. But I need to get moved in first. So that's going on this week. The carpet's coming up, and it's going to be painted. And then Saturday, a really good friend that I've had since junior high school, he's giving me some incredible pieces of furniture that I didn't have. Like, remember my couch folded out. Well, I didn't bring that couch with me, and it was pretty beat up. And the guy that's renting my place, he wanted it. So, but my friend gave me a 4-poster bed, queen size bed, and a beautiful coffee table, which I didn't have. And what else? A side table for the couch, a beautiful couch, beautiful, just immaculate. And this old desk that's tall, where, they would flip out like a leaf, and then you write your letters on it. It's just beautiful. So really nice things. I just found, I don't have a kitchen set, because remember, I had my dining room set, which I still do, but in the kitchen. So I just scored 2 really cool wicker chairs, which I'm going to use in my kitchen, and I'm going to look for a little table to use as a cafe table. So yeah, I'm getting excited about that. And then the rest of my furniture comes at the end of the month. I've made the Michigan move. Okay, everybody. Well, great to be plugged in with you. Radical Gardener, from my garden to yours. May your garden always grow. This is my little room that I live in right now. It's actually been great. Where did I leave off? From my garden to yours. And I'm sending you a ton of love. Okay? Okie dokie, Smokey. Okay, goodbye.